Hey folks, Twitch Christian here. Just want to give you guys an update on Zion Oil and Gas. This update is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to be going over through some of the phases that Zion Oil is going through concerning their search for oil. And there are different phases, and there's many other things that I'm going to touch on so you have a better idea of where we are at. Now there's always a lot of talk of the stock going to $100, and I want to show you guys just some of the information and doing some extra research, just showing you exactly where we are at in this investment, because truly we are at the baby stages of this investment. So, but before we get into that, if you guys like these videos that I make, please go down to the Patreon, give us support. It's much appreciated. As you guys already know, I'm working on a animation project. So some of the things that we're going to be looking at is some of the different phases. How much can one oil well produce? And a while ago, Zion Oil put out a 51-step post about the drilling process. So we're going to go over that. Now, any information that I share with you guys on here, you guys got to keep in remember, this is just research I'm doing. These are things that I would have already looked up and made my judgment based off of the information that I have. I'm not a stock expert. I'm not a trader expert. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an oil expert. I've never worked on an oil rig before. I've never been part of the process, but I'm just judging from the information that we currently have. And there's a lot of information about this whole entire process, but I've narrowed down the information so that you guys would have a better understanding. Alright, so like I said, I've been doing some research on the whole development process. I probably read at least 10 different articles, narrowed some articles down for you guys to read, some of the best ones I thought, and there's a couple other ones that explain some of the processes in more detail. So in the basic process, you have the exploration, the well development, the production, and of course in the long term as far as the site abandonment when they're done pumping the oil they can out of that one particular well. Now in the exploration phase, we also have is what is called the appraisal phase, and that will be important. Alright, so right now where Zion Oil and Gas is at, they are actually still in the baby stages of this whole entire process. And right now they're working off of one well. Now they've dug other wells, and of course they were not successful as far as that. Now of course, when I do talk about this process, remember the oil industry is changing rapidly as far as technology. So things could actually change from what I've been reading. Basically almost every 2 years there's like a leap in technology in the way they do things concerning oil. And one of the other things I do want to go over is in their update, they discuss spudding the well, right? We expect to spud Megiddo Jezreel number 2 well at our current well location by early to mid-December 2020. All right, so I'm going to go over just some quick details about spudding and how long does it normally take when a company drills a well and then they're able to get the product out and sold onto the market. Spudding is the process beginning to drill a well in the oil and gas industry. A larger drill bit is initially used to clear out a surface hole, which is then lined up with casing and cement to protect the groundwater. After the surface hole is completed, the main drill bit, which performs the task of drilling to the total depth, is inserted in this process, can also be referred to as spudding in. Now, spudding is a highly complex task involving sophisticated techniques and machinery. It often costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to even drill a simple well. When the main drill bit is added to the process, the task is also known as spudding in and occurs on the spud date. Spud to completion is the time between the spud date and the completion of the well. Once the initial hole is complete, the main drill bit is attached. The day the main drill bit begins drilling into the ground, a process called spudding in is referred to as the spud date. In cases of offshore rigs, the spud date occurs when the drill begins working on the seafloor, not when it first breaches the water. Many investors find value in the spud dates as this helps determine how effective a particular drilling operation has become. Comparing the spud date to the total depth is reached, also referred to as spud to TD, can help compare operations of one drilling company to another, as well as improvements in a company's performance from the completion of one well to the next. Additionally, the phrase spud to completion refers to the time between the spud date and the well being completed, and the phrase spud to sales or spud to release involves the time from the spud to the point the well comes online. Alright, so I'm not going to read any more of that, but what becomes important here, which I caught, and maybe somebody can do the research on that, is how deep they have to drill and how long is it going to take them to drill however deep they have to drill. So if there's a certain number and it takes 5 days to drill that, if we get a spud date that they've already started to drill, then that means we can determine how many more days before they actually would reach oil. Alright, so I have here where just this article, it's the earliest one that I could find, but it deals with the 2018 Permian production trajectory impacted by changing spud to sales times. So what this deals with is just the amount of time from they spud until they actually are able to actually sell the oil. And these are companies that are basically set up already. You know, they got their pipelines, you know, they got the people who they work with already. So ZNOG is in a little bit different position. These are all things that they're going to have to do, but it just goes to show that as they continue to drill, once they have all those things set up, every time that they dig a new well, and the amount of time it's going to take for each well to be tied into the system and everything else that comes with that. So as more Permian producers shift to pad drilling and increase the size of the well pads in 2018, BTU Analytics expects an average spud to sales time to increase. To estimate just by how much, let's examine the data on a single well spud to sales time in 2017 and the size of the well pads in the Permian. The Delaware Basin had the longest drill time of 24 days compared to 17 days in Midland and just 7 days in the DJ Basin. Layer on completion and time, the average spud to sale time in the Delaware Basin was 36 days in 2017. This does not include any downtime to move rigs, crews, and equipment between well sites or the time to tie into midstream systems. So these here, using the American oil industry in these particular areas where there's a lot of drilling going on, and since the Delaware Basin only took 7 days to drill, they were saying the average time to get it from the drill to the actual sales was 36 days. So that's pretty interesting. So things can move very fast. Even with ZNOG in the position that they're in, I'm not sure what all facilities they have already there set up, but I would imagine that once they get the green light after they've officially discovered oil, this whole process and production, even though it's a brand new discovery and they don't have any other operations going on over there, it's going to take a little time, but it may not take as much time as maybe it would have 5 years ago or 3 years ago. But it kind of gives you an idea, like, okay, so even if they do strike oil, what's the quickest time they can get everything set up and start selling that oil? That's going to be the most important part, because if there's a 6-month delay, you know, anywhere from a 3 to 6 month delay as far as oil to sales and getting it, you know, in production and selling the oil, there's going to be a lot of fluctuation. But at the same time, we're also, if everything is successful, they'll be drilling more wells. So I just found this article interesting, because it just kind of gives us an idea of, you know, what to expect and what to look for. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys where we are at as far as according to what ZNOG posted here several years ago, right? And it says the following steps are necessary in order to produce oil or gas from a well. And right now, this is where we are at, because we have not heard anything about the inspection or them started drilling yet. But here on step 11 is a strict inspection of rig must take place once built. All right, so that's where we are at right now. And the place that we want to get to on this list, it just goes through a whole bunch of different little steps. Okay, so after the inspection, this is what is to take place, right? Okay, so they're going to start drilling, and then it says here, when the hole reaches a designated depth, the derrick hands secrete fluid through the hole to condition it for logging. A logging tool measures the depth and condition of the hole for the oil company. This tool gives the information of whether or not the well can indeed produce oil or gas. At this point, it must be determined whether the well is to be complete or plugged and abandoned. If the well is designated as a producer, the crew must reinsert the pipe back into the hole to ensure the hole is still intact. All right, so that's the process to where we're at now. Now, once they start drilling, those crews are going to be working 24/7, according to what they said here. Right, operations of the rig go on a 24/7, typical ceasing only one day each year for Christmas. Right, so at that point, once they start drilling, they'll be drilling. It'll be around the clock. Now, to get to that depth, once they announce they've started drilling, we don't know how long it's going to take. That whole process could take 2 or 3 days. It could take a week, but that remains to be seen. Okay, so once they have discovered oil, right? It has to be official, right? Officially, they can, with the 3D seismic and the 2D mapping and all that, they know that the oil's there, but it has to be what is called like officially discovered. Right, so they're just not drilling randomly and just trying to find oil. From the information they have, that's why they started drilling this particular well, because obviously this would be their best shot at getting to the oil. So in this other article here, one of the most important steps is what is called the appraisal phase. Right, when they have oil, right, they're going to have to test the oil, right, to see what kind of grade of oil it is. But there's a lot of other steps to that too as well. But I just want to give you an overview of this. And it's the appraisal phase. After a company is successful with their exploration drilling and make an oil or gas discovery, then the appraisal phase of the life cycle is next. The main purpose of the phase is to reduce the uncertainty or possibility of losses about the size of the oil or gas field and its properties. During appraisal, more wells are drilled in addition to the exploration wells to collect more information and samples from the reservoir. Another seismic survey is repeated to get a better image of the reservoir. These activities take several more years and cost tens to hundreds of millions of dollars. More seismic surveys and wells assist petroleum geologists, geophysicists, and reservoir engineers comprehend the reservoir better. For example, they tried to find out whether rock or fluid properties change away from the discovery well, or how much oil and gas might be in the reservoir, and how fast oil or gas will be moving through the reservoir. After the success of the appraisal stage, it is successful if a company decides that the oil or gas field can be developed. Now, in ZNOG's case, this is going to be a little bit different. If you're a bigger company and you're searching all these different oil fields, just because you find oil doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to immediately develop that particular well. So what's going to be determined is the grade of oil, how fast the gas or oil moves, right? The natural flow of the gas and oil, because that's very important. Because I'm going to go to the next thing I'm going to talk about is actually how much oil does a well produce. And of course, I just found this after doing a whole lot of research and getting different answers from everybody. And it just really depends. And there's a lot of factors that are involved in that. And so what I found was that each well is the faster the flow of gas or oil that is in that well, the faster the flow, the more pressure there is, the more they're going to be able to get out. So after just doing a whole lot of research, I found a very thorough answer. And basically, it just comes down to when you look at how much wells produce in the United States and all around the world and all the different factors that are involved, the most that a well can do is going to be about 100,000 barrels a day, right? So that's if everything works out perfectly, Zion Oil out of this well could get 100,000 barrels a day. Now, the other thing about it is, folks, is after they get done drilling, they are going to have to drill more wells. One well is not going to be enough to start pumping out the oil that they need. So this is why I want to show you guys where we are at in this. So even if they go through the whole process, they announce oil, all that, you know what, guess what, folks? I mean, they're still going to have to keep drilling more wells in order to produce the oil that they need to make revenue. When it comes to this particular phase where we are at with Zion Oil, right now, even if this is successful, this is just one well. They're going to have to keep drilling other areas in order to continue to pump out more oil. Because what if this well can only pump out 50,000 barrels a day or 20,000 barrels a day, right? They're going to have to keep drilling wells. So I want to make sure you guys are rooted in all that and grounded that this whole process is going to take a while. And that, folks, and that's why I'm trying to get more into, you know, just trading on a daily basis on the ups and downs, and so that way that if you know this whole process, right, it's going to make you a better trader in the short term and in the long term. It's just going to make you a better trader. Because, folks, there's going to be, this thing is going to come in phases. It's going to come in waves, so there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. Now, the next thing that I do want to get to is the development phase. So let's say, you know, Zion Oil has oil. Now it comes the development stage. The development stage occurs after successful appraisal and before full-scale production. The main activities and the people involved are the formation of a plan to develop the oil and gas field with the inclusion of how many wells needed to be drilled to produce the oil or gas, to make a decision on the best design for the production wells, decide what production facilities are required to process the oil and gas before it is sent to a refinery or customer, decide what best export route might be for the oil and gas. Completing the development plan involves drilling engineers who drill the first phase of the production wells and project engineers who assist in building the planned facilities. You know, the development of oil fields sometimes costs hundreds of billions, and it typically lasts for 5 to 10 years to develop an oil or gas field, depending on the location, size, and the complexity of the facilities and the number of wells. Now, keep in mind, folks, that this article is a little bit older, so things have advanced. But I just wanted to read those two parts out of that because the appraisal phase is important, and that's where they test the oil. And then, you know, if everything is positive on the go, then they're going to go into development. Now, this article being a few years old, things have advanced a lot quickly. I think that if Zion Oil, as far as being full-scale production, yes, it might take a couple years when it's fully operational. Right, so now I'm just going to go over some different points and all these factors that could influence the stock. There's many different people on many different levels. There's some of you guys know how to trade, know how to trade everything. You're experts. There's some of these people that are listening, either they're trading very little or they are waiting until it hits $100. Now, folks, if you are waiting for the stock in the OTC markets to hit $100, you guys might be waiting for some time. All right, and we're just talking about a stable $100, not just, you know, it could easily jump up to $100 in a few seconds and then come right back down. But in this phase that we're in right now, and that's just like we talk about the 477. The whole point of 477 is because at any time when the stock does go up, there's always going to be a pullback. People are going to be taking profits, and there's one thing that's very important that you guys don't understand is that Zion Oil doesn't have any revenue coming in. So how do they raise money They raise money by selling stocks off. So if they see that price heading up to 477, I mean, the price of the stock very well could hit $5. But the way I look at it is that the 477 is a safe place as far as taking profits and not trying to get too greedy. Right? Just because a stock goes to $5 doesn't mean that it's necessarily a whole bunch of people are buying it at $5. Any given moment during this whole rise, in order for Zion Oil to get to the next phase, they're going to need money, and they are going to sell stocks. So you got to be careful. For those of you who are watching the stock for the 477 prophetic, you could set it at $5. Won't guarantee that it'll sell at that. So I'm just playing it safe. And so that's why all mine right now, if I'm not trying to day trade it, it's set at 477. I believe that once Zion Oil has announced that they have oil, the grade, and how much that they have, I believe that it's going to cause a lot of institutional money to start pouring in. Right? Because there's going to be a lot of confidence in Zion Oil because they have something solid to start with. Right? So institutional money at any time could start pouring in. And that's when my speculation, it will start pouring in as when they've extracted the oil and verified it. Right? So what's going to happen? Price is going to jump. Right? Then also too, I don't know how Israel operates with government grants and subsidies. So if at any time after an official announcement of oil, they could actually get some type of government subsidy or grants, some kind of funding, that could happen. I don't know if that would be the case. Now, like I said, folks, keep in mind there's going to be a lot of in-between time between these different stages, right? So we have the inspection and the drilling that we're supposed to get some kind of news. And it could come, for all I know, they've already been drilling for the last 5 days. We don't know yet. We won't know till we get the next update. But I suspect it's just going to be the announcement of the inspection and the drill, and them starting drilling. So this is why it's important, as far as you people who are holding on. If you guys are really holding on to that $100 mark, you're going to be waiting some time. So the point that we're trying to get to you, and what you learn from this stock, you'll be able to apply it to other stocks as well. So there's going to be ups and downs, right? If you look back over the last 3 or 4 months, you see the news when it was supposed to happen and when it didn't happen, and you can see all the different fluctuations. Right? Just recently it was up to like 168, 170. Most of you could have sold off and took home a profit and actually bought back in. I think it actually came down to like 84 cents. So, which brings me to another point, and this is important. But one of the things that you guys have to understand is that all stocks at some point have some type of pullback. And I don't want any of you getting left holding the bag. If there's going to be somebody who thinks that this thing is going to skyrocket to $100 and they're going to spend $10,000, $20,000 on the stock when it's $4 and $5, right? And that thing is going to come back down. There's a stock that's called U1, and just to give an example, for a while there it was trading around $2 and actually got down to like $1.19, $1.06. Right, and this was this year. That was back in April, and just kind of stood there, just kind of fluctuating a little bit between $1.50 and $2. Well, at some point, this stock just skyrocketed, and it actually reached a high of $54. And then the sell-off began. Right? I remember people on that day, and I was like, man, I wish I would have been able to get in that one. I mean, I really missed this one. And then several days later, it was just a massive sell-off, and this thing just came down, and people were literally freaking out. People they were asking questions in these message boards: should I sell or should I hold? And of course, all the responses are, oh, Just hold it. It's going to go back up, right? And we did not see that. And there's probably a lot of people that probably bought in that $40 to $54 range, and they held on to it, and they lost a lot of money. And there was a lot of people that were upset about what this took place. I mean, there were people that were thinking when it was hitting the when it was hitting the $17 range, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you got to go in because it's going to go back up, right?" And it just continued to sink, right? And now it's leveled out. As you see, it's at around $5.05 right now. But there was a lot of lessons to be learned in this. Is that a lot of people got left holding the bag. A lot of institutions or whatever, whoever was buying this stock, and you didn't dump it before it was too late, they lost a lot of money. And I saw that personally. People wishing they didn't get in. Kind of like Guinness too as well. The stock went up. A lot of people invested a lot of money, and it has not recovered since. With Zion Oil and Gas, it could easily spike up to 50 something dollars, but it doesn't have any revenue right now. It doesn't have anything to keep it stable. So down the road, you may see Zion Oil hitting 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, even higher. But it's not going to be, it may not be a stable $20 or $40. That's just the way I'm looking at it. So like I said, there's going to be time in between. And this could happen with Zion Oil. There's going to be many opportunities in trading this thing on a daily basis. But it also, you don't want to get caught holding the bag because you think it's going to reach up to $100. And next thing you know it, you're buying it at $5, $6 a stock before it crashes. So the other point I do want to make is that Zion Oil will have to raise capital, which means they will have to sell stocks. So when that happens, it's going to cause the price to go down. Right? They cannot move forward in different phases until they have money. And that's the only way they can do it. It will drive the prices down. Now, as far as news over the next 6 months, the average official press release from Zion Oil is about once per month. Now, when things start, once we have positive news of oil, and then you start planning phases and production phases, I do expect a lot more frequency, and I do expect certain announcements to happen, contracts, and maybe grant money, who knows. So we just got to get past this phase that we're in right now before we really start heading towards that long-term mark. All right, so really right now there isn't an extraction plan. I want to make that clear. There are things that have to be done, things that have to be proven. So they may draw, I would sure they have some type of pre-plan, but they're not going to be signing contracts with the oil company to sell they're not going to be having contracts to sell their oil if they don't have oil to sell. So I want to bring up the different things that could affect Zion Oil in this whole process. You guys already know the Dow, the NASDAQ, the whole market sentiment. People can be pulling out their money. Then you have good or bad energy news and oil news. And I think that's where a lot of people get thrown off, because even if Zion Oil has good news, and let's say if oil was just the tank from 46 to 36, well, that could have a big impact on all the oil stocks, right? And same with the whole energy sector too as well. If the whole energy sector is coming down for the day or two, that's going to can affect the Zion Oil. So this is what I think. First of all, this is Zion Oil's. Don't have any wells that they're producing anything, and this is basically like the first one where they really have a lot of hope. And so we're really in the baby stages. They're going to need other wells. They need to have the extraction plan. They got to have the appraisal. There's going to be so many things that come after they have the inspection of the rig. So all this is going to take some time. If you guys are not trading this, like on its ups and downs, some of you guys are going to be really emotional because there's going to be some swings in there. You're going to wake up one day and it's going to be 20 bucks, and then by the time you get off work, it's going to be $5. You know, those are situations that happen with stocks all the time. What we do expect is an announcement of drilling, spudding, the inspection passed. And if we get that, then the next piece of news would be an update on what's going on with the oil, right? Whatever they have found, whatever has been tested, that would be the next update. So we just have to be patient and wait and suffer through the ups and the downs and suffer through the news and waiting for them to get everything, to get all the production going. It's going to take some time. So I hope that you guys are more grounded in the speculation. And so we look for the 477, and then we look to get back in after we've sold at a lower price. So I do suspect that when the stock does go up, in order for Zion Oil to take advantage and to get some money for their next phase, that they are going to have to sell off some stocks. So folks, tell me what you think. I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited. I am really going to be trying to take advantage of some of these things with the time that I have, because I don't want to go to my job anymore. So I'm trying everything I can to take advantage of these ups and downs. Some of these links are down below in the description, and if you're on the Patreon, I have a lot more links to do your research so you guys can get a better understanding of this stock, where we're at. Anyways, folks, I thank you for listening. God bless. Be safe. And with that being said, Twisted Christian out.